What did you just watch? Any takers on what we just saw on that screen?
It was a factory, maybe.
A factory. So it's gonna make for excellent YouTube viewing later. So it was a factory or something like that. What was the thing we were looking at? Anybody know?
A compressor or
Compressor or machinery, or it involved an engine, correct? Okay, so it was an engine. And what happened over the course of the video?
steam.
It started steaming and it started malfunctioning. So by the end, the thing was in pretty bad shape. It wasn't actually a factory, but it was kind of a factory. It wasn't like making physical objects. It was making something else. Anyone know what else it may have been making?
Electricity.
Electricity, yeah. Power. It was specifically a diesel generator in a power that was set up in a power plant generating power.
So it's more of a power generator.
Yeah,
But like,
that's what it was. It was a diesel engine power generator, much like ones which are used in certain small power plants, and also which are very often the backup systems for larger power plants. What happened to it, other than it broke? Does anyone know how it broke, or have any ideas how it broke?
A cyber attack?
Yeah, it was a government test to show that these diesel engines, simply by inserting a piece of malware, could be run in such a way that would break them. You were literally watching somebody insert some code into a power generator, which shut the power generator down by breaking it. Why does this matter?
It's a national security.
Yeah, this is a power grid. This is part of the power system. They've done calculations. To knock out the entirety of a city's power, you don't have to knock out every single grid. You just have to knock out enough of them that the whole system stops working. This is why when there's a blackout, there's just often one power station that goes down. If this was done to just a handful of generators, you could knock out an entire city's power. So, what is it called when you go into a system and you insert malware? What is the common term for this? Hacking. Yeah. Hacking. This is an instance in which somebody hacked, well, this time it was a controlled test where a government literally set up so they could hack, but to enter a system and just that you don't have access to and insert or alter the code is to hack. So, the definition of hacking is just entering or altering some part of a computer system / network you don't have
access to
permission to access. So, hacking can be something as simple as learning someone's password and then going onto their network with that password. It can be as simple as going onto a computer that somebody left logged in and just going around and deleting their files. It can also be something far more complicated, which is to exploit security risks that are built by gaps in firewalls or injecting malware or anything like that. So hacking is a very general term. Is hacking illegal?
Depends on like
the situation.
That's exactly the answer I'm looking for. Is hacking illegal? It depends. Is hacking wrong?
I mean, if you're doing it for the country, then no, but it's, I
So,
mean, again, it
It
depends
sounds
on
like
the
you're once again
context.
saying it depends. So, and this is really what the main thing about hacking is. With hacking, whether it's morally right or wrong, and whether it's illegal or not, depends on the situation. And we're going to talk a bit more about these things, about what sorts of hacking there are that seem okay, what sorts of hacking that seem wrong, what sorts of hacking are illegal, what types of hacking are not illegal. So let's start off with the illegal depends and then we'll talk about moral depends. Because remember, just because something's illegal doesn't make it immoral, and just because something's immoral doesn't mean it's necessarily illegal. So just going back to a few classes ago, what's something that's illegal but not immoral? UD?
Okay, wait, illegal but not.
Either one. Either
Okay.
moral but whatever. Yes.
Okay, for illegal, like accessing like government's conversation, like conversation between the president and the U.S. military, or like the messages that were being sent, especially if it was encrypted.
So is that illegal? And is that, so are you saying
I
that
mean, if you wanna exploit the information, like it depends on like the good or it depends on like how good the government is.
Yeah, so here's
or
the
how-
case. If you are, say, somebody, you live in a country in which there's a dictator who's very mean and nasty, and is sending mean, nasty messages, and you hack into his computer and release those messages to the press, you might think that that's perfectly moral and in fact a good thing to do, but it's certainly illegal. And then on the flip side,
Whistleblowing.
yeah, so that's whistleblowing, going back. So that's a technological case. Another case is simply something like jaywalking. It's illegal to jaywalk, but no one thinks you're a bad person if you jaywalk. On the other side, there are plenty of things that are not illegal but are immoral. Like if you tell your best friend, yes, I'll be at your thing, but you have no intentions on showing up, you can argue that's immoral. Or, you know, you punch your brother in the face just because he's mildly annoying you when you're both like 10. You might say that was mean and immoral, but it's not illegal, so to say. You're both children, it happens. Okay, so that's what we're talking about. So let's talk about the illegal one first. What we're going to do now is kind of take a shift. We'll come back to hacking. Let's first transition into just crimes and cyber crimes and cyber-related crimes. Because before we talk about whether hacking is legal or illegal, we should talk about what it is to be illegal and what it takes for a crime to be a crime. So, everyone understand? And then once we have this in hand, we'll come back around to hacking and talk about the moral side and what types of hacking there are, and how you can decide whether a certain piece of hacking is legal or illegal. So, we'll leave that one up there. What's a crime? What is the definition of a crime? What makes something a crime?
Violation of the law.
Yeah, it's just that it violates the law.
Act of breaking the law.
/ breaks the law. That's all it is. A crime is just breaking the law. So, what does this have to do with cyber technology?
Cybercrime?
Yeah, so basically, what's existed as crimes forever, we now have computers, and people are using computers all the time to commit crimes. So, just to go with a list, what are some ways in which computers are used to commit crimes? There are infinitely many of them, so.
Cyber terrorism.
So cyber terrorism, what is cyber terrorism?
It's kind of like terrorism, but in terms of like the computers, it's just like accessing to another country's, how do I say this? Like the network of like internet for one computer to another computer on another country, so that way it can like infiltrate the whole data and pretty much all the information that the government has, and then like.
So what is terrorism in general? What is the definition of terrorism? Anyone know? It's an attack carried out by a non-government organization specifically designed to cause fear in another population by causing damage. So the reason, like, if you actually look at the numbers, the September 11th attacks in the United States, under 2,000 people died, which if you're thinking in terms of wars or things like that, is not that high of a number. But the main thing it did is make people scared. And that's why, even though the numbers of people who died was not like as large as many other situations, the fact is that it fundamentally changed the way Americans think about their own safety. And so that's what a terrorist attack is. Or if it's somewhere where there's a lot of suicide bombings, it changes whether you feel safe going to the store. So that's what terrorism is. Cyber terrorism is just using computers to do that same sort of stuff. So you can use it to shut down networks or to post anti-government slogans and things like that. So that's the sort of case in which it would be cyber terrorism. What are some other cyber crimes?
The bank heist.
Yeah, bank heists,
Oh,
just
yeah.
logging in and stealing money. What are some other crimes that involve computers? What is one of the, and these can be ones that just like ordinarily use computers. It doesn't have to be like a big time hacking sort of thing. You did.
I was thinking of something else, honestly. Maybe like police stations, like releasing the inmates and then like erasing the criminal records.
Yeah, that would be a case of a cybercrime. If you hacked into a police record, like police
Police
headquarters,
database.
and deleted all the records and opened all the prison doors, that's literally a prison break that you've just conducted with computers. That is a classic. Here's a fact, it's illegal to break into a prison and let people out. Like, you're not allowed to do that, don't plan on it. It's a good way to get yourself into prison. Prison break, illegal. You can do it with computers though, so that's another one. What are some other cases?
Cyberstalking?
Yeah, cyberstalking. So a case in which you
Oh,
use
yeah.
the internet to track down and gain information and then use that information to literally stalk someone, learn their identity, harass them, try to get things from them, add information in any sort of way. That is illegal. There's certain lines where you can look up like publicly available things, but if you start trying to get in and then you use that to intimidate them or anything like that, that's another very nice clear case. And basically what you can think of with cyber crimes is, well, let's divide it. How does the book divide crimes with computers? Let's do this. Crimes that involve cyber. So there are two different types of crimes that involve cyber. So,
Cyber assisted and cyber exacerbated.
so that's actually one level down here. That's cyber assisted, cyber exacerbated. I don't know how to spell exacerbated, we'll come back to that. But there's actually a level one up. So you've answered my next question. But before we divide into cyber assisted and cyber exacerbated, there's this divide here.
Cybercrime and cyber-related crime.
There we go, yeah. So cyber-related crimes, and then over here are what the book called genuine, or we can call true cyber crimes. To be clear, which one of these is worse, genuine cyber crimes or cyber-related crimes?
Cyber-related.
There's not a correct answer.
Genuine cybercrime.
This is once again one of those it depends. There's no difference in terms of degree. The difference is just in terms of what type of crime or the nature of the crime. You can have genuine cyber crimes which are not that big of a deal, and you can have cyber-related crimes that are not that big of a deal. Like, you can also have cyber-related crimes that are incredibly big deals, and genuine cyber crimes that are incredibly big deals. So what's the difference between a genuine cyber crime or a cyber-related crime? The key word is here, the related bits. So, but
A genuine cybercrime is the one that can happen only within the realm of the cyber technology.
exactly. So it's a sort of crime that did not and could not have existed before computers existed. So these are types of crimes that by their very nature involve computers. Which suggests, what about this one? What is a cyber-related crime? Not giving you this one. If this is a crime that could not have existed except with computers, what do we think this one is?
It's a crime that existed before, but now people are just using computers to do it.
Yes, so it's a crime that's existed for a long time, but people now use computers for it, either because the computer is around and handy, or because the computer helps you do the crime better. So, what is an example of, let's divide this again. So this is, this divides into 3, and this divides into 2. So, within cyber-related crimes, we've got cyber-assisted versus cyber-exacerbated. Exacerbated just means makes worse. So if you go to say you sprain your ankle, and the doctor and you're like, will I make it worse, doc? Like, should I play basketball on this sprained ankle? And they say, yes, playing basketball will make it worse. One way they might say this if they want to make you feel dumb is they might say that will exacerbate your injury. So that's all we need. So it's cyber assisted versus cyber makes it worse is the simpler way of putting that. So what is an example of a cyber makes it worse crime, where this sort of crime has existed forever, but now that we have computers, it's a bigger problem and happens on a bigger scale than ever before?
ATM hacking?
Yeah, so any sort of robbing from an ATM, you could always steal from ATMs. How would you do it?
Okay, so basically, like, most people like insert this machine, and the machine has a card attached to it, and then on that card, like, the not like the calculator, but like the mini monitor, which I call it, will like scan the PIN number, and it's going to give you the exact PIN number that will hack for this individual, and so on and so on.
Yeah, so that's the way it happens now. So this is a case in which, because of cyber technology, you got a little machine that can hack into it. What's the way ATM hacks used to happen? I've heard of two, both of which are really funny and classic, like, great pre-cyber era. Anyone know any really funny ways that people used to hack ATMs?
Like stealing someone's card. Like
So stealing someone's card, that one's not as exciting. There are two really funny ones that I read about over the years. One was in the middle of the night, someone just drove a bulldozer up, picked it up in the bulldozer thing, and drove off with it. And then took it to a place and cracked it open that way. Another one was in France. It was a two-women team. One of them, as people were taking money out, would flash the person, go, hey, look, and pull her shirt up. The person would be startled, and another one would sneak behind, take the money, and run.
Pickpocketing.
So these are classic ways of ATMs, but now you can do it a lot more simply. Because now with that machine, you can get a lot more people's information. So yeah, that's a cyber-exacerbated crime. Another type of cyber-exacerbated crime is what? The crime that's been around for a while, it's now way worse. Because of computers.
Bullying?
Yeah, bullying. This is another one. It's always been illegal to, especially if you're an adult, go out of your way to make a child feel harm or pain. But it used to be much harder to do because you physically had to be in the same area as them. Now, because of the internet, you can bully people even when they go home. You may never even have had to look at them, you can bully them. So this is a crime which has been made much worse by computers. Another ones are things like child pornography. It used to be that child pornography, while a problem, it was limited by the fact that pictures had to be physically held and had to be moved. How's your nap?
This was a nap pool.
You can thank your classmates. We voted on whether or not to wake you up, and the vote was no.
Yeah, don't.
So you
I wouldn't have been up anyway.
I almost sent someone. All right, but you got your rest, so that's good. All right, so that's another case. Now, what's a cyber-assisted crime? If we've said that genuine cyber crimes are ones that can only take place in cyberspace, and we'll talk about what those are in a second. If we talk about cyber-exacerbated or cyber-make-it-worse crimes, things like child pornography, bank robberies as well, it's much easier to hack into bank accounts than it was to get like a team to break into a bank. What's a cyber-assisted crime? Any takers? It's just a crime where you happen to be using a computer, but it doesn't really change all that much. Here's a classic cyber-assisted crime. You get really mad with somebody and you beat them to death with your laptop. The fact that you use a laptop doesn't really matter legally. What matters is that you beat them to death. But you could beat someone to death with your laptop, and it's a piece of, cyber technology that exists as a computer. Other ones are like tax fraud. You can commit tax fraud regularly with pen and paper, or you could just use TurboTax to lie about your taxes. You can blackmail people using the internet. Like, these are ways it doesn't really change. So in a lot of ways, it's not really all that interesting. It's just regular crime. Cyber-exacerbated crimes are more interesting because the degree is so much different now. Things like fraud, things like identity theft. They're so much worse now and so much easier to do and happen on much larger scales because of computers. And then we have things like genuine cybercrimes, which actually ties back into this word from the beginning. Hacking and all the ways in which hacking crimes exist, they're all genuine cybercrimes. Because for something to be hacking is by definition to be involving a computer. So, within the cybercrime realm, there are 3 different categories. One starts with T, one starts with P, and one starts with B. Anyone know what any of these are? They all start with cyber. So it's cyber blank, and cyber blank.
Okay, I know the first one for sure. Cyber terrorism?
Nope, that's a bit more general of a term.
Cyber trespassing.
Yes, cyber trespassing. Thank you, Wally. Trespassing. What's trespassing? Not in the computer realm. What is it to trespass?
Like you're like entering the area without the permission.
Yeah, you're just somewhere you shouldn't be.
Yeah.
So if you come to John Jay at 2 in the morning when all the doors are locked, that's trespassing.
Yep.
If you walk into your neighbor's apartment without their permission, that's trespassing. What's cyber trespassing then?
Into any system.
Yeah, you just get into a system that you're not supposed to be in any sort of way. And so that's the case. This is one type of hacking. You just get into a system and you hang out there. And that's illegal because you don't have permission to be there in certain cases. What is the second one?
Piracy?
Yes, cyber piracy. So, what is cyber piracy? Well, what do pirates do? Yeah, they steal stuff. So cyber piracy is just stealing things in ways that require or essentially involve computers. So what's an example of cyber piracy?
Copying of a song or something.
Pardon?
Like making pirate songs.
Yeah, if you take a CD and you, which don't, you know, they used to look like this, they were round.
Oh, I have.
Or you have, yeah, you may have seen them. They look like little tiny frisbees. You could throw them. Became very good for that by the end. But yeah, those sorts of things, you put it in and then you download, or you rip the MP3s off of it, you know what those are? Alright, and then you put it on, and then you give it to someone else, or you sell it to someone else, that's cyber piracy. Or you go on a torrent site, and you download it, and now you've got like the copy of Game of Thrones season finale before it's out on HBO, that's cyber piracy. And why is that piracy? Cyber piracy is as opposed to regular stealing? Well, because you can't steal a computer file before computer files existed. Just doesn't make any sense. So other things are like if you steal any sort of software information. So if you were to steal an operating system, or if you worked for a company and stole their trade secrets or the blueprints of their software and tried to sell it, that's cyber piracy. And then what's the last one?
Cyber vandalism.
Vandalism. What is vandalism?
Breaking things.
Yeah, just breaking things.
Graffiti.
Yeah, so examples from the real world. Any sort of graffiti, whenever there's a riot and somebody lights a police car on fire, that's vandalism. Whenever people just break stuff for the sake of breaking stuff, that's vandalism. So any sort of defacing or breaking or anything like that. So what would cyber vandalism be?
Inserting a virus or harming a system.
Yeah, it's just getting in and harming a computer system. So things like you hack in and you could, something as simple as defacing a website. So there's one that they talked about in the book, I think it was in the book, I can't remember, it all blends together. A hacking group decided it would be really funny to go to the website for like the Association for People with Epilepsy. What is epilepsy?
Seizures.
Yeah, it's a disorder where you have seizures. And what's the main, if you have epilepsy, what's the main cause of you having a seizure fit?
Lights.
Yeah, bright blinking lights. So these people thought it would be funny to change the front page of the epilepsy website and make it a strobe light. So what they did is they went on, and so if you went on to get information about epilepsy, you were now getting an epilepsy fit triggered by the fact that these people had